This is the Bates Bobcast, our weekly podcast where we take a look at the week that was in Bates athletics. My name is Aaron Morse, and this week we're recapping the first carnival weekend of the season for the skiing teams and celebrating a dramatic senior swim meet victory over Colby. Plus, men's basketball recorded a big NASCAC win over Hamilton, and the track and field teams are off to fast starts. All that and more coming up on the Bates Bobcast. The women's basketball team defeated UMaine Farmington 85-49 Tuesday before dropping a couple of very close NASCAC contests on Friday and Saturday. The Bobcats took number 4 nationally ranked Amherst to the wire before falling 43-37. Then Bates dropped an even closer game on Saturday to Hamilton by a score of 63-59. The men's basketball team also fell to Amherst, but the Bobcats bounced back Saturday with a resounding 98-81 win over Hamilton, improving to 2-1 in NASCAC play. Senior Cody Greenalch scored a career-high 26 points, and Bates' 98 points were the most for the men's basketball team in a NASCAC game since 2002. First-year Omar Sarr turned in a pair of outstanding performances over the weekend. He shot 11 for 18 from the field on the week and averaged 13 points, 12.5 rebounds, and 6 block shots per game. And Omar Sarr is our male Bobcat of the week. So far, so good, right, for your college career. 18 rebounds against Hamilton. What are you seeing out there on the court that allows you to grab all those boards so far?
I mean, it's just something that I do naturally. I think my role on the team is pretty much to play defense and, blocking shots, getting rebounds. And so that's what I do. That's my job, kind of, yeah. Yeah,
you're out there, you know what your mission is every time you go on the court.
Exactly. So, I think from my conversation with the coaches, I think, our main focus was, play defense and, do what it takes, to, get us extra positions. And, so that's what I do all the time.
The block shots, for me, watching it courtside is pretty incredible because it's like you hang in the air and then you're just ready to. And how do you develop that ability to block shots growing up?
I think maybe because of the fact that I played volleyball at some point in my life. Okay. So, I think that's pretty much because of it. So, I know when to jump. I know when to not jump and, just go for the blocks and stuff like that.
The points, though, have been coming your way also on offense. What have you been working on offensively this year?
I think my main focus is, dominate in the paint and, so I think I'm not a very good shooter, but, my main focus is just, getting, doing that pick and roll, get the ball and then finish. And so,
Part of it is getting those buckets off. Your teammates might fire away a 3, but you're underneath to clean up if necessary, right?
Exactly, definitely. So I always, get their back, and stuff like that.
Okay, so tell me about growing up in Senegal. What was the experience like kind of in general, and then when did you start playing basketball? Okay,
so I started playing basketball at the age of, I would say, 13, 12. Okay. I was in the military school in Senegal, so, the coaches just saw me and was like, yo, you should come and try out and stuff like that. So that's when I, really started playing basketball. And, after that, after Senegal, I went to South Africa, and at the African Leadership Academy. And then, I also had like a great coach who really, pushed me hard and, pushed me to do more on the court and stuff like that. So, I think it was it's like a combination of both, playing in Senegal and so in South Africa, really allowed me to gain a lot of experience. And, that's it.
John Fruish told me that you basically just emailed him saying, hey, I'm looking to play somewhere in college. How'd that experience go?
My math professor last year is an alum from Bates.
Oh, okay.
So, at some point I was like, all right, Bates is my ED school. I'm going to apply there. And he was like, you should know what? You should email the coach because I think you really can play in the team and stuff like that. So that's exactly what I did. I sent him a video of me playing, and he was like, yo, man, what's up? What can we, what's the way forward? We want you here and stuff like that. So,
And so you sent him tape of you playing, basically?
Exactly. And, I was actually very surprised when he replied. I wasn't really expecting it. So I was like, all right, let's do it. Yeah.
What was the adjustment, first of all, going from Senegal to South Africa and then from South Africa to, Maine?
I feel like, as I said, I've been, in a lot of boarding school for most of my life. So, I'm really used to be away from my family. Sure. And so, the transition from Senegal to South Africa, of course, there was a language barrier at some point because Senegal is a French speaking country, and South Africa, they speak English. So, So I just started like speaking English 3 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so I think that was like the hardest thing about moving to South Africa. But then Maine is like I feel like especially Bates College because the small community college, because I didn't see myself being in a like big university and stuff like that. So that was one of the main reasons why I didn't want to come here, and yeah.
So you grew up speaking French. Yes. There's a lot of people in Lewiston who speak French. Have you gotten involved in that at all?
That's the reason why I'm usually involved in the community doing community service and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a real pleasure to be around. Yeah.
What are some goals you have in your mind, like, kind of going forward this year? Kind of just keep doing what you're doing a little bit, or?
I mean, at the beginning of the season, I didn't have like goals or like I didn't want. I said to my coach, this was a learning season for me. So I mean, I'm gonna just keep doing me and being me on the court and stuff like that. So nothing's gonna change. So yeah.
Speaking of learning, what are some big adjustments from the competition you faced when you played in South Africa to the competition you face in the NESCAC?
Definitely different, especially in like the level of competition. It's way tougher here. It's way demanding here. So yeah, but I feel like my teammates and the coaches really allowed me, really welcomed me well, in the team, and really allowed me to kind of grow as a player also, and yeah.
You mentioned your volleyball background. So growing up, were you playing volleyball and basketball or any other sports?
I was playing a lot of sport. I was playing volleyball, track, volleyball, track, and gymnastics. But then, when I started, gaining weight and becoming taller and taller, I stopped playing gymnastics. I kept on doing track, which is like triple jump and high jump, and at some point I had to stop because the height and stuff like that, and I focused on basketball when I was maybe around 17. Yeah.
Okay, so fairly new, really, compared to the other sports.
Exactly, definitely.
Interesting. Yeah. So, did you kind of are your parents very tall? Did you know you're going to go to 6'8"?
Definitely. My dad is very tall. He's a 6'6" or a 6'7", something like that. My mom is around 6 feet. Okay. So yeah, they both tall. Yeah, definitely.
So it wasn't a surprise necessarily that you kept
Exactly, definitely.
What have you learned from maybe some of the seniors who have experience playing here, and even someone like Kenny, who's a year older, who has a year under his belt?
I learned a lot, definitely. I think Kenny is like a great resource. Whenever we have a game, he will come to me, talk to me about the other teams and talk to me about his experience last year playing that team. And he's always a great resource. The seniors, they're always around. They have they're keeping this team together. They have like a big leadership potential, and that I think they are the reason why we're doing so well so far. So yeah.
Omar Sarr, Male Bobcat of the Week. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
The skiing teams combined to place 6th out of 15 schools at the Harvard Carnival over the weekend. In Alpine skiing, a number of Bobcats recorded top 30 finishes, with fifth-year senior captain Michael Cooper pacing the men's team in the slalom in 12th place, and junior Joe Gillis and sophomore Ari Van Vuren leading the way in the giant slalom with a tie for 18th. On the women's side, junior Hannah West led the Bobcats in both events, placing 11th in the slalom and 17th overall in the giant slalom. And Hannah West is our female Bobcat of the week. Female Bobcat of the Week, Hannah West, with us on the phone here talking some Alpine skiing. And Hannah, what a weekend for the Alpine skiing teams, both the women and men, a lot of top 30 finishes. What were your overall impressions of, how the team did? And it must be something you're encouraged to see so early in the year, right?
Yeah, we're all very excited. Everyone got second runs. We finished both runs, which is pretty hardcore, I'd say, because we're out there and we're skiing as hard as we can. We're trying to finish and we're trying to do as well as we can. And we all did really strong. And I think overall the spirits were high, and we were all very excited for our results, girls and guys, and the team combined.
And for you, particularly in the slalom, you got 11th there. I believe that was tying your best finish at a carnival. So what was really working out there in the slalom in particular for you?
I don't know. I just kind of went out there. It was a pretty cold day. The chair actually shut down. We hiked to the start, and I don't know. I think it was just trying to treat it like any other race and go out there and have fun and enjoy our first carnival, because it's sometimes you get out there, you're pretty nervous. There's a lot of good competitors you're skiing against, and you forget about them from the previous year, and then you're out there and you see all these good girls, and it could be very intimidating. And I think you just gotta stay calm and go out there and do what you know how to do and ski. Yeah, you touched on it being the first carnival. You do have all those Fisk races before the carnival season. How do the carnivals compare to those, perhaps? There's a lot of the same girls that show up at the Fisk races, especially at the carnivals. There's a lot of top girls there, and it's like a mini carnival in itself. But when we're at the carnival, it's a whole different ball game. Like, I feel like everyone's definitely skiing a lot harder and charging a lot more and trying to do as best they can for their team and for themselves. And I think it's overall higher intensity at carnival races. But I think for us, as the Bobcats go, we definitely were up there trying our hardest, but we kept the spirits up, and I think that's what helped us overall, just like having a fun time and having a good time and cheering each other on.
Yeah, and for the women's team, obviously, unfortunately, Griffin Mueller out with that injury for the season. How was the women's team? What was your reaction you found out about that, and how was the women's team able to bounce back in terms of, from a mentality standpoint, losing to someone who's been one of the top skiers for you the last couple of years?
I mean, I'm pretty sad. I miss Griffin every day, and I just wish she could be out there with us. But I know she would want to be out there too. But she's definitely. I feel like, as a team, we all we can do right now is be supportive for one another and, encourage each other still. And even Griffin does her best. Like, she was texting us, telling us, watching us on ESPN and cheering us on. So we felt like she was still a part of it. Yeah, there are those ESPN Plus streams, right? People can watch online, at least for that Harvard. That's pretty cool to know, right? Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's never been a thing for us, and it was very nice to have it available, especially for my family that live out west and they can't come easily to the carnivals to come watch. Certainly. So entering your third year here as part of the skiing program, what are some goals you have in your mind? Obviously, you've been so close to NCAA the past couple of years, right? Yeah, I think, for myself, instead of focusing on my results, I just want to focus on my skiing more so, and just, keep a positive mentality. If I don't make it, I don't make it. It's okay. It's not the end of the world, but I'm just out there having fun and doing what I like to do. We've talked a little bit about how, the training, you have a bit of a trip there for the training each day. How have you learned over the last couple of years to balance your classes with the unique, I guess, schedule kind of skiers have here? We got an hour, 10-minute drive to the mountain. I'm actually doing some work right now in the car. There you go. Yeah. I mean, it's if you're not driving, we either catching up on some sleep or we're doing some work. And it's definitely when we get back, we recover, do skis, and then go straight to the library. And it's a lot of work, especially during school. We don't really have the luxury of having some free time. I feel like it's just, but I like it at the same time. It keeps me very busy, and I always have a very tight schedule. I like it personally. And then, your thoughts on the UVM Carnival coming up? Obviously, I'm sure you've been to that particular course before, but what are your thoughts on this weekend? Really excited. I like Stowe. It's definitely a lot different hill than Monday morning at Center River. It's more challenging. There's a lot of tricks there's a lot of terrain. You got to know where you're going. But I'm excited. It's a really, really fun venue, and just excited to keep the spirits up and keep the team going, and let's hope we go out there and charge as hard as we can. Sounds good. Hannah West, Female Bobcat of the Week. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Senior captain Kaylin Woods led the Bates women's Nordic team in both the freestyle and classical technique races over the weekend. She placed 26th in the 5K skate and 20th in the 15K classic. On the men's side, sophomore Henry Raff led the way in the 10K skate, and first-year Cal Schrupp tallied some NCAA points with a 28th place showing among collegiate skiers in the 20K classic. Schrupp joins the Bobcast to talk about the first carnival of his collegiate career. Cal, obviously a nice collegiate debut for you at the Harvard Carnival, but I understand, growing up in New England and New Hampshire, you've competed in carnivals before. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so the races that we do in order to, get to the collegiate level, they're called the Eastern Cups, and they sometimes collide with the carnival races. And so I've seen the jerseys, the uniforms, and once in a while I'll race with them, but this time it was purely just college guys.
Tell me about growing up. When did you start getting into Nordic skiing?
So my mom was a college skier at Dartmouth, and she won the fight of what the children will do with my dad, who wanted us to play hockey. And so I've been skiing since I was 2. Pretty much, yeah. And I actually started racing. They're called lollipop races. They're for the little chillins to do, and I've been doing those since maybe 4 when I started racing.
Lollipop, right? Do you even remember doing this at 4 years old?
I remember the good moments, the races that I won, and of course the lollipops at the end of the race, or if it was a good race, it was a big chocolate bar.
Excellent. Yeah. And so when did it become? I mean, you've been basically born on skis, but when did it become like more like, okay, I'm aiming to like do this in college, maybe?
Sure. I would say so. I have a brother and a sister who are both older than I am and both competitive skiers. And when my brother started competing in college, and I got to go to his races, that's when I saw how cool it was, and how fast they go. And I guess that from then on, I was inspired to make it there.
Excellent. So classical technique versus freestyle. What do you prefer? What do you like them both equally, or is there one preference maybe?
Interesting. So it's a great question, I will say, but it changes. It changes. So I like the technique that I'm best at, and right now, skating's much harder than it is to classic for whatever reason that is. So I'd say classic
At the moment.
Yes,
but
at
that
the
could
moment,
change.
It could change. It could
right.
change.
And then, so the Harvard Carnival obviously got moved for Nordic to a different location there in Vermont, right? And that Craftsbury, that's you've probably been there before, right? 'Cause that's like the hub of Nordic skiing, right?
Is the hub, 100%. And we're going back there this weekend.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's going to be the right amount of Craftsbury, I think. If we had 3 races there, who knows? I might get sick of it. But it's amazing. It's definitely the best combination of hills versus downhills.
Right.
Yeah, so you don't kill yourself.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious. I mean, for those who have never been to Craftsbury, what makes it kind of the hub? What take us through like the environment there?
So there's a lot of people. I think a lot of them are volunteer, but they really care about not making money so much as making a good Nordic facility. And so great trails, great snow, great grooming, and they keep putting money into building more buildings for the athletes. So they just built a new warming hut for the athletes. So all the athletes are in a building, and then all the recreational skiers are in a building, which some might say is not the best thing, but it definitely is, because you have enough space to put some clothes on, which Nordic centers just usually do not.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What made Bates the place for you when you were looking at colleges?
I would say the big thing is my coach, Becky Woods. At least when I was talking to a few coaches, and I've known of all the schools just because of my brother. Right. And so I was trying to figure out what would differentiate the schools. And right as I interviewed Becky, I thought that she was amazing. And then I got to hang out with the team, and I really liked the people, and I thought it would be a great place for me, especially compared to the other schools. And
the men's Nordic team in particular is quite young, right? I don't think there's any seniors. What's that kind of like to have younger guys?
It's really cool, and it's nice to know that right now I kind of feel like we're a little bit of the underdogs, and we have a ton of potential. So, I mean, it's also great for me because there were 4 new boys, and so I have friends as well.
Yeah, well, I saw you took a picture with like a buddy of yours who maybe doesn't go to Bates, is it?
Yes,
yeah,
that's true.
So you know people on the circuit, I imagine.
Yeah, so he was actually from my ski program, Gunstock, and he and another guy, we've just been battling it out for who's going to win for the past few years. And in this race, we skied together for 8 kilometers of the 20K, so it was really cool. And
is there any talking going on when you're actually out there?
So some races there is, some races there isn't. I would say in 20Ks, for sure there can be. This race I actually really didn't say much, or I said like a let's go here and there. It's actually, another thing about it, at the end, maybe 5K in, I told Zach, I was like, that's who that was. By the way. I was like, we got to catch this guy. And, actually, we got to catch Mark because Mark was another member of my ski program who's ahead of us.
Gotcha. So the kind of competition within the competition almost.
Exactly. But it made it all so much more friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 20K, was it a mass start?
It was a mass start.
So the mass starts, what's that like compared to when it's more like, going individually?
Personally, I love them.
Yeah.
They're super different. And there's crashes.
Yeah.
One right in front of me, my teammate, Tucker Pierce, broke his ski, and he had a tough he finished the race and actually did surprisingly well, but he ended up in last place, I'm pretty sure, at a certain point.
Broken ski.
Because, he's running pretty much. And I could have been involved in that, but there's so much adrenaline at the beginning because it's really a race for position because the pack spreads out, and so you want to be in a good position so that when that happens, you don't have to make up a minute of time to be where you started.
Yeah. So you enjoy that little rush.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think that one advantage I have is just being on my skis for the past 16 years. I'm good at avoiding the crashes,
right,
or jumping over people if need be.
Great. Well, your thoughts on the season so far? Obviously, it was the first carnival race, but you all been training for quite a few months.
We have.
Yeah.
It's been great. I'm really excited. We have a lot to go, and it's going to be really cramped in there. We got six weeks of 6 races, or 12 races, I guess. How long we've been training, I think is going to help us in the end because it's been a good long season. I'm ready for it.
All right, Cal, thanks so much for joining us on the Bobcast. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you very much.
The swimming and diving teams compete against Bowdoin on Friday and Colby on Saturday. The Bobcat men swept the Polar Bears and Mules, and the victory over Colby was, in the words of head coach Peter Casares, the most amazing meet I've witnessed in my 13 years. Trailing by 20 points entering the final 2 events, the men rallied to win by 8 points. The 200 freestyle relay team of first-year John Marcolina, first-year Nathan Barry, sophomore Dan Waterland, and senior Tanner Fuller clinched the victory by breaking the pool record in the 200 free Bates had set just the week before. Tanner, I'll start with you because you anchored it. You were the senior. It was your senior meet. What was going through your mind entering that last relay because it all came down to that, right?
I mean, it was a great last event. We were down by 1 point heading into the last relay. We had great 2 performances in the 2 IM by Peter Corey and Andrew Hall, right? Andrew, yeah. Went 1 and 2 to give us that 1 point. We were down by 1 point. Going into the last relay, and it was great. The energy was there. The teams were both lining the sides of the pool. Everyone was cheering. And we just made it happen. All 4 of us did a great job and pulled through at the end.
What's it like to anchor it there?
Oh, it's excellent. I mean, just seeing everyone cheering and neck right at the end there and being able to pull it off and celebrate with your team is really a memorable moment.
We're moving on to a couple of the first years here. John, leading off the race, were you aware of all the situation in terms of the points and everything?
Oh, yeah. I think we were all completely aware of what was going on. I mean, everyone was up on their feet, and it was just the whole pool was just filled with excitement.
How's it compared to like when you were swimming in high school? Probably nothing like it, right?
Yeah, I've never been in a situation like that. Like the adrenaline was going. Everything was like, I don't know. It was just super exciting to be in that situation.
And then, Nathan, how about for you? I mean, we talked before about how you swung at Tarbell Pool when you were in high school and whatnot. How about another pool record, by the way, this time in the relay, right?
That was a pool record?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
We beat the pool record that we beat last week by 0.8 again.
Right.
Oh, hey. There we go.
So you were more focused on, getting the victory in the
beating Colby, yeah.
Beating Colby, yeah. And you were probably aware of the situation going on?
Yeah. I knew because we were about 20 or 30 points behind the whole time, and then after divers really got us up there. They got us those extra by going 1-2. They got us those extra points that we needed, and then we were within 10 points, and then the 200 IMs happened, and then we were within 1 point, and so everyone knew that it was down to this last relay, and everybody was electrifying, and everyone was up, and there's just a lot of energy. And so it was really fun to kind of, I said to myself, I got to do it for these boys. It's not just for me, because I was feeling a little bit sick as well. So I was like, I got to pull it together. Like, we got a job to do. We're all in this together. So
Dan, it sounds like you might have been more aware of the pool record than Nathan, perhaps. Did you know right away that it was a new record, that you'd broken the one you set previously?
I mean, I was mainly focused on winning the meet.
Yeah.
That was my main priority. But after the relay was over and we had calmed down a little bit, someone walked up to me and was like, "You guys got a pool record." And I was like, "Oh, we got a pool record again?" So that was cool. But yeah, that was one of the best moments of my Bates career thus far.
Right.
And excited to see what happens in the future.
I was going to say, head coach Peter Casares called it, in his 13 years here, the most exciting meet he's ever been a part of at Tarbell Pool. You're a senior. You've been in some exciting meets. Would you agree this may be the most exciting for you?
Absolutely. I mean, I would say before this meet, I would go back to my freshman year when we won the CBB championship again, and the most hype meet back then was we raced Bowdoin home for our senior meet, honoring the seniors 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And that was great. We won the meet just barely again, but this blew it out of the water. The energy was there. The swims were great. Colby had put up great competition against us, and we pulled through in the end.
Yeah, you touched on that, the senior meet. I mean, when you were first year, did you think about what it might be in a few years for you, and what was it end up being, like before the meet and everything?
I mean, it was great. I mean, time really flies when you're a senior here. Yeah. I mean, 4 years goes by really quickly, and back then when I was a freshman, we won the CBB, and all the senior guys really wanted to pull that off once again, to go off on a good note, and we did it.
Excellent. Well, John, moving back to you here as a first year, I want to know what made you decide you wanted to come to Bates for college?
Well, I mean, definitely Coach Casares. He was always very involved in my recruiting process, and I loved my trip up here. Actually, Dan was my host when I came up, so he showed me a good time and what Bates is all about. Definitely, and just the student body too. Everyone seems very down to earth when I came on my trip, and it was just somewhere where I saw myself.
What's it like to have such a big role in the team right away like this?
It's awesome. That's also why I came here, because just the opportunities that you wouldn't get this opportunity at the Division I level as someone with my ability. Good.
And Dan, you touched on the fact that you hosted him. What's that like being a host? You're a sophomore here, but what's it like hosting potential recruits and everything?
Well, personally, I really enjoy doing the hosting because it puts a big weight on me to get these kids to come to the school to make this team better. So when I saw John was my recruit, I looked him up on college swimming, looked at his time, saw who he was. Was like, this kid could be good for our team. So I feel like I did a good job with John. Obviously, he's here. So John and I are good buds. I kept in touch with him over summer, make sure he knew what was going on coming into Bates.
You touched on the fact that the numbers are all out there about how fast everyone swims. It's not secret information. Is that something you look at when you're entering into a meet, or do you ignore it, Nate?
Sometimes I do. This year I've kind of fallen behind because I don't know anybody anymore. Back in high school, I kind of knew everybody, so I would look at all their times. But definitely when we were going against Bowdoin and Colby, I was looking up their top swimmers and what they're going in the 50, both for their dual meets and for their championship meets, and their top swimmers in each event, and how we'll stack up.
And then coming up, I know WPI is more like an invitational, individual type thing, but then NESCACs, right, Tanner? And what do you tell some of these younger guys about the experience of NESCACs? What they can expect?
NESCACs is a great time. I mean, the energy level is just insane. And we have a relay like this, us four, really have a good chance of really scoring very highly in that event. I think currently we're ranked third in the NESCAC for our time this past relay this weekend. And even past that, looking at nationals, relays like this would be extremely competitive to get the invite to a meet like that.
Yeah, you've been to nationals, right? What was that experience like?
Nationals is great. I mean, it's the highest level of competition we can get to. I went when I was a sophomore with four other great upperclassmen that no longer they graduated. Right. But it was amazing, and I hope some of these younger guys can have the same experience I did back then.
In terms of relays, I understand that's probably the most fun, right? What are your thoughts on being part of a relay team that gets there?
That would be the best, just because relays you don't have the excitement in individual because it's just you, but you're supporting your teammates. The teammates are supporting you. They're with you the whole time.
As a first year, what was your experience like there on watching the seniors get honored and everything?
It hasn't been so long since I was doing that in high school, right. So it was kind of that's gonna happen to me one day too. So it was really nice to see all these people that I love in so many different ways, and they all just came down and got high fives with their parents walking them down and standing on the bulkhead and getting all the flowers, and it was a really nice way to start the meet.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much to John, Nathan, Dan, and Tanner for joining us on the Bobcast record-setting 200-yard freestyle. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
After being outscored by Bowdoin on Friday, the number 15 nationally ranked women's swimming and diving team bounced back to defeat Colby by 91 points on Saturday. It was the final home meet of the season, and the Bobcats honored the senior class before the meet. Senior Emmy Daigle, who won the 100 and 200-yard breaststroke individually and helped Bates win the 200-yard medley relay, joins the Bobcats to reflect on the meet and look forward to what's next.
It was really fun. We had the senior ceremony beforehand, so walked out with parents. I walked out with my aunt, and some people walked out with coaches, and just felt really celebrated by the whole team, and got to high-five everyone on the way over. I got gifts from the juniors, which was really sweet, so it was really exciting. And then we all got honored, and we, for the women's team, we're lucky enough to get to put together a senior relay. So after that, we had our team cheer, and we, the four of us got together and went over for that relay, and it was just really exciting, kind of like leading up to it with the awards and stuff, and then we all swam really fast for that and brought home the win there, so that was really fun.
You had to transition right away into because you had the very first race, so what's that like going from like, let's celebrate, now we got to focus on, winning this thing, right?
I feel like normally I'd probably be in the pool warming up a little bit closer to my race, so I didn't really know how it was going to go, but it was really exciting to go over there. We were all in the relay. There were 5 senior girls swimming, but 4 of us were on a relay together, and I think it was good just like to be excited about being a senior and like having it be the senior meet to kind of like carry us there. And we all went pretty fast too. I remember coming out of the pool, and then Amy Duran went behind me, and she swam a really awesome 50 fly, and that was super cool to just see that we were all swimming fast, so it was fun.
Excellent. And then the individual events, those obviously went pretty well for you. Did you go into a meet like that, do you kind of know who your main competition is based on just like times you've seen?
Yeah, a little bit. Based on like who they swim against at other meets and stuff, you can look up and see how fast they've gone this season. I don't do that often because I don't really want to like psych myself out or think too much about what other people are doing, because that's totally beyond my control. So I'm just kind of thinking about the best race that I can have. But it was really fun, especially after that relay, kind of like getting things together and then being excited for my individual events too. It was just a really good environment, especially for both us and for the men's team being so close. Everybody was just really pumped up to cheer everyone on all the way through the meet.
It's interesting because it's a senior meet, but you're still going to be training a lot in Tarbell Pool for NESCACs and everything this whole month and whatnot, right? So did you have any sort of interesting thoughts go through your mind as you got out of the pool for the last time in a competitive, in terms of like a meet situation, or is like you're going to be in there so much more the rest of the year anyway?
It's kind of interesting to think like, oh, that was our last dual meet at home. It was also our last dual meet overall, because our next one is WPI, which is more of an invite format. So there are multiple teams there. So this was really like the last head-to-head, and it was CBB weekend. So we swam Bowdoin the night before, and we had to fight really hard for that. And the whole team, a lot of people are fighting illnesses and stuff. So we have been working really hard. And I don't think I really thought about it being the last like race in Tarbell, but I definitely thought about it being the last meet weekend and having it be some of the last swims in terms of like dual meet times and unsuited swims, we would say, because for NESCACs we taper and we put on our fast suits and stuff, so that's really a different format and like type of competition. So I had thought about a lot how these were my last dual meet times, and I really just wanted to end it on a good note.
Excellent. Well, I guess any other thoughts on some goals you have going forward, because you're building up now to the biggest meet of the season.
I think it's just really important, and like what I always try to do is not psych myself out too much. My goals are really just trying to stay positive and like make a list of all of the like good things that have come so far, and the team is like really great this year, and we have a really good shot at having it be the best we've done at NESCACs in my 4 years here, with a huge group of freshmen and like a lot of people coming back and doing really well for themselves this season. So it should be really exciting just to kind of come together for the last 4 weeks and just have a lot of fun.
Sounds good. Emmy Daigle, thanks so much.
Thank you.
The women's and men's squash teams played a combined 7 matches this week and won 6 of them. Although the Bates women fell 6-3 to Amherst Saturday, senior captain Lutza Polgar won a thrilling match at the number 1 position, prevailing 3-2 in a match that saw her rally from 2 games down to win, with the 5th game taking a combined 34 points to resolve in an 18-16 victory for Polgar. Polgar sports a record of 9-1 on the season, and the women are 7-3 overall. The Bates men have won 5 straight matches overall, improving to 7-4 on the year. Sophomore Jesper Phillips is 8-3 on the season while playing at the number 2 position. Well, Jesper, first of all, tell me about growing up in Norway. When did you first got involved playing squash? What got you interested in the sport?
Yeah, so it's not that big of a sport in Norway, but my dad is English, and it's the biggest sport in England. So he was kind of coaching the local club, and then I ended up just tagging along there first, just friendly, and then kind of found a passion in it and decided to stick with it and kind of explore a bit more and kind of go for it and try and get good. And then squash continuing for university in Norway is not really a big thing, and we don't do the schools competing against each other. So if I kind of wanted to continue squash, I knew that the US would kind of be a better place for me.
What was the process like finding Bates?
Yeah, it was a strange one. I'd never been to the US before, so I knew like nothing about college in the US other than that squash was good over here. So I started just looking at schools and happened to run into a few coaches at some big tournaments and emailed a couple of different schools and got lucky with some good American friends of mine who kind of pointed out some good schools, and Bates happened to be one of them. So I contacted Pat, the coach that used to be, and then he kind of kept talking to me and I was interested, and then narrowed it down to a couple of schools, and Bates happened to be there, and then I ended up going for Bates.
And then something the squash program often talks about, how a lot of student athletes on the squash team from various countries throughout the world. What's that dynamic like?
No, that's very interesting, and that was kind of the main reason why I ended up picking Bates, because Bates, I had 2 schools that it came down to, and I looked at the squash roster for one of them, and it was a lot of Connecticut and New York and kind of where squash is big in the US. And then I looked at Bates and I kind of saw 10 different nations from all over the world, and that kind of felt a bit more homely to me and a bit more where I wanted to be. And then now we're continuing that with Rai coming in, the South African coach, our freshman from Jamaica, India, El Salvador. And then it's a really interesting dynamic, because especially at a school like Bates, it's pretty cool to have our own like little hub of globalness at the squash team, and being able to kind of talk to people from all over the world. And hopefully we'll be able to continue that with the coming classes moving forwards.
Yeah, so growing up in Europe, did you play in tournaments throughout the continent, or were you pretty much just in Norway?
No, so it's not that big in Norway, so we were traveling a lot. So all the time it would be tournaments down in all over the Nordics, Sweden, Denmark, a lot in Germany, going over to England a lot. Traveled as far as like Slovenia, Czech Republic, so it's kind of all over Europe and all over the world too, really.
You mentioned you've never been to America before, so
No.
You're a sophomore now, but when you came over here as a first year, what was the transition like for you initially?
It was strange because, again, I'd never been to the US, and I came in kind of blind. My parents dropped me off, and we had 3 days in Boston and 3 days in Portland, and then straight into Bates. But, I mean, coming into a team, I kind of knew very well I was coming into a good dynamic, and McLeod, Abbott, and Colby, the captains my freshman year, did very well kind of taking care of us, and I kind of found a good group of friends straight away and got some good mates and lads in the team. And now I'm living with Peter, who's also a squash player. So, I mean, coming into a team made it a lot easier kind of adapting to whatever I wanted. So I could go straight in doing what I want with like a good academic program and then squash on the side.
Well, let's talk about this year so far. The team's on a bit of a roll now. Kind of a slow start the year, but it seems like the team's really picking it up. What have you noticed over the last few weeks?
No, I mean, it was tough because we had a bit of a bumpy preseason, and then we didn't start that great. So it's a bit of a mentality challenge to kind of get rid of that and then be like, we can still be great and we can still do the things we came here to do. And then with Rysel, then we managed to kind of adapt it to performance as much as possible. And Graham's done a great job in the preseason, along with tennis coach Gatchingay. So moving forwards now, we kind of decided that that's kind of done and dusted, and now it's all about moving forwards and the performance we can do. Got a couple of good wins on the road now, but for us it's more about looking forwards, finishing the season strong, and then going into the postseason with the goals to win.
You played Amherst, I think, at a casino annex in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
What was that experience like in New York?
It was strange because, like, normally when we play the school or these schools, it's like one team is away, one team is home, and it'll normally be a very biased crowd either against you or for you, and you can kind of go off that dynamic. But now we were like, everybody was on foreign ground and none of us really were that comfortable, and having to adapt to new courts is always going to be a strange one. But I mean, it was fun. It was a good road trip with the team, and we had 2 matches down there, and luckily for us, we came back with 2 wins, so that made it a lot more pleasant experience. And and Chatham match on Sunday was maybe, for us, yes, it looks good with a win on the board, but we weren't kind of happy with our performance. So then moving forward, it's about flipping that back to the good side, and now going in against Colby and Middlebury, and going through strong to get 2 more wins.
Sounds good, Jesper. Thanks so much for joining us on the Bobcast. Appreciate it.
Thank you a lot.
In track and field, the women's and men's teams both finish in first place at the Bates Invitational. The Bates women won 13 events, with sophomore Lily Simmons matching her collegiate best in the pole vault, clearing the bar at 10 feet, 8 inches. Lily, I'm curious, the pole vault, how did you first, when you were growing up, decide you wanted to kind of specialize in that event, if you will?
Well, originally I was actually a swimmer, so I was never into track or anything. And then sophomore year, I had a really good friend on the swim team, and his sister pole vaulted for Stanford. And I watched videos of her, and I thought it looked really fun. So I found out my school had one, and I wanted to try it out. And I ended up really, really loving it. So
Pole vaulting to me looks a little scary. I don't know, was there any fear at first?
I really just wanted to be in the air.
Yeah.
It never crossed my mind.
Interesting. And so what was the first step to kind of learning the event for you?
Figuring out how to hold the pole and actually be able to run with it, because that was just... could not comprehend how someone did that before I even tried it. So,
and you're part of a trio of pole vaulters on the women's team. What's that dynamic like?
It's a lot of fun, especially high school. There was only 4 total vaulters on my team, so having a trio of us who are all around the same skill level is really nice, just for meets and warm-ups and just being able to always pump each other up and have fun. So.
Well, tell us about growing up in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia. What was that experience like? Basically, you said in a national park?
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. It's different. My town has 294 people in it. So my high school was big because it encompassed a lot of other towns around it. So it's very different from everyone I've met here. But I don't know, growing up in a national park was fun. It was very touristy though, so it gets a little annoying on the weekends. But
Gotcha. Did you spend a lot of time outdoors then?
Yeah, a lot of hiking, river rafting.
And Maine is a very outdoorsy state too, right? Have you gotten a chance to go up to Acadia or anything here?
I went to Acadia. That was actually my first experience in Maine. I was going to a pole vault camp, and the week before we went on a trip. We went whitewater rafting on the Penobscot River, and we went to Acadia and biked around. So
growing up there, West Virginia, how did Bates get on your radar?
Well, my brother went to Amherst College.
Yep.
So based off of that, I knew I wanted a small school. I have family in Connecticut. Always loved New England, and after visiting Maine, I kind of fell in love with the state. So I knew I at least wanted to check out the schools up here. So
did you know right away you wanted to do track and field in college?
As soon as I started vaulting, I kind of had a hint, because it was swimming all the way until probably midway through my junior year. I realized that that pole vault was kind of trumping swimming at that point, which was a big change, but.
And then this past couple weekends, pretty good collegiate career best for you, right? What's been working so far this season with the pole vault?
I think mainly just focusing on... Last year I had a big problem with I was very anxious before my events, because high school felt very low stress. And I thought, I came in with the expectation that it was going to be the same. And as soon as we hit the first couple of beats, I realized that for whatever reason, it felt very different. And I just needed to get out of my head, and I had a hard time doing that. So this year, my goal going into the season was just to be very positive and just enjoy the sport and not focus on marks. And it seems to be working so far, so I've been having a good time with it.
What's a typical practice like for you? Because you're doing one event. It's not like you're pressing different lengths for running or anything like that. It's just pole vault, right?
Yeah. Well, we vault 2 times a week, and then the other days usually my coaches will have strength workouts or sprint workouts to do. It all just depends on the day.
Sure, and I think Al Farashidi works a lot with the pole vaulters, right? What's he been like as a kind of a coach, if you will?
He's been amazing. I love Fresh. But he's very, very good at technique and just kind of making sure you're never getting too much in your head, and just working on, whenever I seem like I'm hitting a stumped point in practice or in meets, or I'm getting too in my head, he always finds a way to bring you back down and focus you.
He's got his iPad, right? Video study?
Yeah, it's really helpful.
Did you do a lot of that in high school, or is this new for you to do video study?
I'd have teammates video, but my coach in high school was he was able to visualize it on his own, and really, really was able to just tell you exactly what he meant, which Fresh is too, but he just never felt the need to video it.
But Fresh uses the video as a guide.
Yeah, he draws on it and shows us angles, which I find very helpful.
Well, as a sophomore, it sounds like you're feeling more comfortable, more relaxed. Is that fair to say? What is just a change of mentality? It sounds like, or
definitely. I think just having a wrap on the school and just I feel more comfortable on campus and everything. It just feels it took the pressure off of track and everything else. So.
Yeah, speaking of that, obviously, there's the academic side to things. How was the adjustment last year kind of coming from high school?
It was definitely different, but I had a lot of fun with it. So it was nice. I like having a busy schedule, so it kind of fit well with the Bates mentality. But so I don't know. It was a big adjustment, especially having, everything in one place rather than having to like go to track practice, like driving and but I don't know. It was a big adjustment, but it worked out.
And then, what are you studying in terms of? Do you have an idea, or are you just taking a lot of classes right now?
I declared my math major and chem minor.
Is that something you always wanted to do, kind of?
Yeah, I was always into math, into sciences. My school was never big in the science program, so I really didn't have an idea until I got here. But math was always from my dad and everything. He was a big math person, so that got into my head. Gotcha.
Well, any other thoughts on the season so far through 2 meets?
It feels good. It's really fun. I've definitely done a better job of watching other events this year. I've gotten even last year I didn't really, because coming from high school, you didn't really focus on the other events as much, which doesn't sound great, but it was more of just like individual. And I like that this team is way more inclusive, and I'm learning about all the events still. But just I love seeing everyone, get better, and it's just been a lot of fun.
The men's track and field team won 12 events, and senior Justin Levine set a personal record in the 5K with a time of 14 minutes, 58.75 seconds. Levine currently ranks second in New England in the event.
Yeah, so I definitely got a really good training session over the break. Went to the track, as much as I could and got in some speed work that I've been trying to work on over the last couple of years, and I'm already seeing the results. So,
what was the race like there on Saturday?
So yeah, Saturday we went against some Maine guys. So we had a couple D1 runners in the race, and they were going out for some fast times. So I kind of just latched on in the beginning, and then as the race progressed, they were kind of slowing down the pace, and I noticed it at one point. So I just kind of burst ahead, and then kind of did my thing for the last 10 laps. Kind of just toughed it out by myself and ran as fast I could.
Nice. So I know the D1 meet was scored separately, but did you finish ahead of those Maine guys?
Yeah. So okay. Yeah, I did win the whole thing, which was great. Yeah, it's interesting because especially UMaine, I feel like we have a pretty comparable team to UMaine in some areas. They definitely have some top end talent in others, but yeah, I wish that we could just kind of combat them head to head because it would kind of be fun, but there's some rules against that or whatnot. So.
And then 5K versus the mile for you, does it really matter? I mean, it's a pretty similar event for you, or how's it go?
Well, yeah, the 5K is definitely my best event. The mile, I've kind of always wanted to be a miler, but always been better at the 5K. So it was nice to get in a good mile. That was a nice confidence booster. But the 5K is definitely my niche event. That one I've done for a long time now.
So it was the only event you ran on Saturday, right? So for the rest of the meet, what's your kind of approach, I guess, before you run and then after?
Sure. So yeah, before we do like a couple mile warm up, and then after we'll do a little cool down. But then it's great because kind of you don't have to worry about your energy and can really spend it all on cheering on the guys. And that's one of the best parts. Like, as the guys saw when I finished, they were really, congratulatory and, cheering me on and whatnot. Because, yeah, we work really hard together, so we kind of know everyone's goals. So kind of going into the race, it might seem like people are just running around in a circle, which, that's kind of the basis of it. But we kind of know all the times that the guys have run, so it's really exciting to cheer them on and see if they can meet their goals.
And then I was talking to Coach Fresh before the indoor track season. Obviously the cross-country season went to nationals. Nationals was tough conditions, I understand. But I understand, you guys have a little bit of motivation now going forward, I suppose, right?
Yeah, most definitely. We definitely had a tough day. We had a great race the week before, and sometimes it's really hard to plan out and have your best race to be the last race. It's just such a long season. But yeah, for the guys, I mean, I am the only senior that won't be returning in most of that top group. So there's definitely a big future for the rest of the guys. And I'd been to nationals before, so it's not too much of a bummer. Hopefully, I'm going to try my best. It'll be a long shot, but maybe in track, if I really can improve. So that would be the next goal.
Yeah, is that something that's in the back of your mind in terms of like the 5K? Because as Coach Fresh mentioned, you're second in the region.
Yeah, so pretty much they take they only take 12 per event in the whole country.
Yeah.
So as of now, there hasn't been a ton of 5K runs for most of the guys. So I am second right now, and I think 14th in the country to start. But I'm definitely going to have to run. I think the magic number is about 17 seconds faster.
Okay.
So that will be a lot, but it isn't impossible. And if I get some fast guys to run with, kind of ran the rest of that race, like the second half alone. So if I get some guys to carry me through, then who knows, maybe I can pull it out.
That's interesting because running alone's got to feel good in terms of like, oh, I'm going to win this thing. But it's also like you don't really have an idea of where you're at in terms of time, I suppose.
Yeah, no, most definitely. We were, in terms of time for the first couple laps when I was just kind of running with the other runners, we were running 35 seconds for each lap. And then the second I kind of took the lead, it felt like I was running faster, but it was some 36s and whatnot. It's just it's a lot easier to just kind of use the rhythm of the race and just kind of follow along. When you're in the front, it's really hard to just generate all the momentum yourself. So.
Gotcha. And then how about some of your teammates? What did you notice from some standout performances that you saw?
Yeah. So definitely Peter Ackley, one of the first years on the team, he ran a great 400. He beat quite a few guys on the last stretch to win that race. And then Johnny Rex has been doing great in the throws. He had a great start with his first meet. He threw a PR, which that also is very surprising to do that this early in the season. And then a lot of our distance guys are doing really well. Most of them, their big race is going to be this weekend, their first big race. Like Nick Resnick and Bart Rust will be in the 5K. And they've been my training partners, so I think some big things to come for them. And but the whole team really, as Coach compared the track season to Christmas and said that kind of it's like unwrapping all the gifts that, those surprises that he hopes from all the training will. So I'm kind of in the same boat, hoping to see all the things ferment for the team.
Excellent. So what is upcoming this weekend? Tell us about the meet.
So we're going down to Boston to run at BU, which is a bank track. It's a little different than ours. So you can run a little faster per se. It's also because the competition's better. So it's both. But so that is a huge meet. They run all day, 1 million heats, all different levels, D1, 2, and 3 runners. It's pretty special, especially for us guys. We get to race against some Ivy League guys like Brown and Princeton, Harvard, which is a really cool experience. And then just the atmosphere is incredible there. They have a really nice stadium, and it's one of the best places to watch running in the world, arguably. A lot of world records are done in this indoor facility. So it'll be a great chance for all our guys to run fast.
Yeah, perhaps we'll see another personal record for you. Justin Levine, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. I'll be doing the 3K, so we'll see.
All right. Next time on the Bates Bobcast, we'll recap a slightly less busy week of Bates athletics. The squash teams welcome Colby and Middlebury to town, the track and ski teams compete on the road, and the basketball teams take on Tufts. Find the complete schedule at GoBatesBobcats.com, and we'll recap it all next time on the Bates Bobcast.
Bates, Bates,